Welcome to the Public Speaking Horror Show, where we reveal the awkward, sometimes cringe-worthy moments, sometimes terrifying moments behind the curtain and behind the mic. Today's guest is a media pro with over 20 years of experience as a news anchor, producer, and interviewer. She's worked everywhere from live TV to global marketing campaigns, helping people tell their stories with heart, strategy, and zero fluff. She brings newsroom urgency with boardroom smarts and knows exactly what makes an interview unforgettable, whether that's good or bad. She's here to spill the behind the scenes tea, from epic wins to the oh no, she didn't moments. She says she's interviewed some high profile people. So if we're lucky, maybe she'll dish a little. I'm thrilled to welcome Jodie O'Brien to the horror show. Welcome, Jodie.
Oh my gosh. I've never been so excited to be at a horror show. I avoid them at all costs. I like nothing scary. I never watch horror films, but I'm glad to be here. Thank you. Laura, it's
Well,
so good to be
yeah.
with you.
Thank you. You too. Yeah, be careful what you say yes to, because now you're here, you're in it.
That's
And
right.
as you know, we're going to start right in with the killer 13. 13 random
Very.
questions that everyone should know. Jodie has not received these questions in advance. She did a little homework and listened to some other ones, thinking she'd have like a leg up that way, but I don't
Thought
know. We'll
so.
see how it
See, I
goes.
told you I do not like the unexpected. I do not
I
like horror
know. Well,
films.
you're
So
on the
I tried
horror
to
show.
prepare.
Yeah.
I am the most practical, like non-horror going show person. Like my friends all go to the scary movies. I do not. I do not like them. I get scared. So I was trying to prepare. I have all of the answers to all of the 13 questions for other people that you asked. Like, what kind of
I
car would you
love
be?
I love it. Yeah, I'm not gonna ask that. And I love
That's
that you
fine.
tried to prepare. And I feel like this is kind of this meta moment now where we might create our
Mhm.
own horror show like moment,
That's right.
where things just go
Mhm.
wrong. And that's
I
okay. That's
mean,
welcomed.
yeah, that a good journalist would prepare, right? But no. Okay. I'm up
All
for
right,
him. Let's go.
here we go. Yeah, now I want to make these even harder, but okay, we'll see.
Uh-oh.
Here we go. Um, here's a like I'm just gonna start out with an easy one here for you. What's the meaning of life?
Really? That's easy? I'm still trying to figure that out.
Right?
Though, it's interesting because I think when you get to this point of 45 and you've lived long enough to realize that the meaning of life has a very little to do with your list of accomplishments and way more to deal with or to do with your relationships, you know? So I'm one of those. I say that I don't listen to anything horror related, but I got to be honest. I have listened to so many near death experience podcasts. I cannot even tell you the number. And I am one of those who takes everything from all of those episodes and I'm like, oh, there's a similar you know, thing about each one of them. And so when we talk about the meaning of life and you listen to some of those podcasts, you will learn that the meaning of life has nothing to do with your list of accomplishments. It really has to do with the way that you treat people and those relationships that you've built and how those have worked out in your life. So, bottom
That
line,
is,
right?
yeah,
It's love.
absolutely.
That's the bottom line.
Oh, I love it.
I
Oh
mean,
man, that's an awesome answer. I love that so
yeah, I
much.
don't know. Ask
No,
God. We
it's,
got to get up there and ask him because I have no idea, but that's my best guess.
I think you're absolutely right. It doesn't, it has, we strive to create meaning, I think, in our lives, but maybe we don't have to work so hard because when it comes down to it, you're right. It's our relationship with ourselves and with others. You know what's crazy about your answer though? Guess what I was binging last night that I binge all the time? The near death right before like something terrible happened moment podcasts. And now that YouTube understands that that's my vibe, it feeds me so much more and I can't help myself. I love like watching shark attacks, the near death, like some of them I watched last night were just so horrifying. The bungee rope thing, they miscalculated, so it was way too long, and like all these
No.
these awful moments right before someone dies. I don't That's
No.
so crazy
Why?
that you don't watch horror, but you love that, and I love
No,
that
I
too.
don't
Those
watch that.
But
That's
that's
not what I
hard. That's
watch.
real.
No, it's not that.
Oh, okay.
It's the people that tell the stories. Like, they tell their stories
Oh, okay.
on a podcast, and they're like, "So I died, and here's what
Oh.
happened when
Oh,
I died."
that.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
the
it's called the
actual death
NDA.
moments. Oh, I love
Yes!
those
You
too.
think I'd watch that nastiness?
Oh,
No,
shoot. Now I
girl.
feel like now I'm like we feel too
Yeah, you
much. I
twisted.
No, yeah,
No,
I love
you
that.
messed up.
I did. Okay, so now I feel kind of seen and called out. Well, there's someone out there that loves those too, and I kind of
You
hate myself after I
know.
watch them, but I love
No.
that too, the near death, like people talk about what they saw and what
Oh,
happened,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that's
That's what
so
I mean.
awesome.
So when you listen to those, I mean, it really I mean, they say they stand before God. They
Yeah.
are in those moments of reckoning.
Wow.
That is
Yeah.
how I've, like,
Oh,
but no,
so
not
it's
the
not the
scary
roller
stuff.
coaster accidents that whoops. Okay.
No. No, but I do have lots of friends who are just like you, and it's
Okay, yeah,
very
don't
messed up.
judge. It's so
It's
messed
very
up.
messed up, and
I'm
you
the
are
first
messed
to
up.
admit. I am. I am. Oh boy, it's
Yeah,
terrible.
no.
I
I
know.
don't know, it's
I
just
need.
not in me, right? It's just
Yeah, no,
not one
it's
of
for
those
the
things.
best. Like when I watch
I
it
don't
right
know.
before bed, and then I'm like, oh, I had a bad dream. Yeah. All right,
Oh,
number two. Right,
let's move on. I'm just
number
kidding.
two. If you could
Yeah.
sit down and interview anyone, living or dead, who would it be?
That is a really hard question. That
Oh,
is a really
who
hard
pops in
question.
your mind?
There's a lot going on about Barbara Walters right now.
Oh,
Barbara Wawa.
yeah. Okay.
And they're getting ready to come
Is
out
she
with a new
still
doc.
alive? I don't know.
No,
Oh,
no,
she's not.
she's
Okay.
passed.
So,
God
okay.
rest her soul.
So, okay.
She's moved mountains for journalists, but
Mm,
so she's the first one that comes to mind just because, like, when was the last time she was interviewed, right? She interviewed
yeah.
everybody, but when was the last time she was interviewed? So I'm very
Yeah.
interested in her. But another one that comes
She's
to mind
not
is Tina
available,
Turner.
but okay. Oh,
Well, she might be in the near death life.
maybe.
She
Yeah.
might be. I listen to those podcasts too, many
Oh,
psychics. Maybe they can
oh,
bring her back and I can talk to her. Maybe that would be a good show. I could interview people on the other side. Yeah.
that'd be pretty
That'd be
epic if you could
great.
pull that off. I have some Wi-Fi
Anyway,
connection issues,
yes.
but yeah, Tina Turner,
Tina
absolutely
Turner. I had
too.
to say her
Yeah,
because she's one of my faves. And
yeah, I
I
love
would
her
just
too.
love to talk to her. I wanted to see her in concert before she passed. I never did get to see her live in concert. Missed my opportunity when she came to Atlanta. Because I would have flown over there to see her, but I would love to talk to her. She had some of the most amazing hits, songs that still to this day, like, rock my core, and I love her. Yeah, I've always been a huge fan.
Oh, that's so cool. I love it. All right. What's the most awkward thing that comes to mind that a guest has ever done, like mid interview, someone you've interviewed?
Okay. Okay. The first thing that comes to mind is that I was interviewing on a live show. So it was, kind of a community. The news, like the 5 o'clock news, but it was a little
Yeah.
community segment. And it was it was a plastic surgeon, and he does a lot of female mommy makeovers. And so I was always very self-conscious of course, when you put yourself in the limelight, you're always going to be self-conscious about something to do with your body. We all are, but it just is more when you're out there. And so I remember being on set with him, and I was very self-conscious that day about my jacket. It was really tight across my chest, right? And
Okay.
here he is talking about breast reductions. And I'm sitting there and I could not wait for it to get to commercial to be like, "What do you think? What can you do me? Can you fix me?" You know? But he was looking me dead in the eyes having this
Oh man.
conversation about
Yeah.
breast reductions, and I was like, "I know you want to look down. I know you want to." You know? So probably the most awkward moment. I mean, there's been others where there's been others. You can't really predict what people are going to do or say, where they're going to look, what their reaction is going to be when you ask them a question that they don't see coming.
Absolutely.
So,
That's a
yeah,
good
over the years,
one.
there's been some very awkward moments.
I
Yeah.
bet. Oh, I can't wait to hear more about that too. What's a book that's currently inspiring you?
Oh gosh. I wish I could remember the name of it. There's a new book out. I'm halfway through it about mentoring and about how I think I actually talked to you about this a little bit the last time we spoke because mentoring is such a huge opportunity in this country. And so there's a new book out. Like I said, can't remember the name of it, can't remember the authors. My dad sent it to me, which I thought was really cool. And it's really about how transformative mentoring can change this country. And I think what they mean by that is it's not going to come from the top, it's going to come from those relationships, which we talked about were so important in your life, and how you investing in someone else and someone else investing in you can change the course of your life. So it's a book about all of these stories. And there's this one chapter, and I don't know if I shared this with you, Laura, but it's really cool. They start it and they say, there was this little girl and she was in Salem, Alabama, and she was, basically witness to her church being blown up by a racist bomber in Alabama in the 60s or something. And, going on about all of this and on and on and on about her life and what she did and how she came through it and how her parents were. And at the end of the chapter, it's like, and her name was Condoleezza Rice.
No way.
And so,
Wow.
yeah, so the way
Wow.
that the book is set up, there's many parts
Mm.
of it where we'll have to link it in the show
Yeah,
notes because it's phenomenal.
I'll search for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so important having a mentor, having, how it can change your life, right? And being a
Mhm,
mentor to someone too. And like you said, those relationships create the meaning. So, yeah, I love that. All
mhm.
right, cue the lights. What's your signature on camera power color? Is it mustard
What?
yellow? Yeah,
Oh,
power
well, it
color.
is,
What color?
what color? I would say a red and I would say
Yeah.
lipstick. You and I are both fans.
Yeah.
However, one time I was in the Walmart and someone came up to me and was a small town news anchor and they came up to me and they said, it was an older lady. She said, your red lipstick is very distracting. And I thought, okay, is that a good
Thank
thing or a
you.
bad thing?
Like, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Just yeah, right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a really hard time listening to you and hearing you and because it's so distracting. And I thought, ooh, well, I've never been told these thin lips were distracting. So that has got to be
Yeah.
yeah. So I love red. Every time I put on my lipstick, every time I put on my red lipstick, I think of that lady. Um, hot pink all the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything that's really bold.
Yeah, you and me got that. Yeah, I'm
But it's
not
not always,
get to
but yeah, it's not always that wasn't always something that was smiled upon because
yeah.
you're supposed to be kind of muted and
Mm,
you know, very Midwest,
yeah.
not don't push it, that kind of thing. But who cares? All
Yeah,
bets are
fuck
off
that.
now.
That's right.
All bets are off. You don't have
Absolutely.
me in a box. So yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Let's bring it. All right, what's your favorite, or recent binge TV watch?
Uh-oh. Well, speaking of scary, how I can't sleep at night, my husband and I finally just finished Mayor of Kingstown.
Oh, I haven't watched it.
It's on Paramount.
Okay.
You will love it. Of course you
Oh,
would, because I
yeah.
couldn't sleep.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
Mayor of
yeah.
Kingstown.
So my husband's really into that kind of stuff, right? Kind of those action packed,
Mhm.
sometimes gory, mob,
Mm.
mafia.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Anything scary. Anything by Taylor Sheridan, right? He's the one that did, he's the one that did Yellowstone and
Oh,
those
okay.
spinoffs, and he has issues, and I don't know if you'll ever hear this, Taylor Sheridan, but you have issues, and therefore I can't sleep
Okay.
at night. So, yeah,
I'm gonna check
in
that
my
out,
in my
absolutely.
right? In my private life, in my, like, girly, my time
Yeah,
shows,
yeah.
I'm all about, The Housewives. on
Oh,
Bravo.
really?
Love them. I love
Oh,
reality TV. Um,
okay.
I love anything on Bravo, and I also am loving And Just Like That, the Sex and the City spinoff. So
Oh,
good.
and you said you don't like horror. There we go. No.
Right? Now listen.
No.
I mean, some of those
Real
housewives,
Housewives. Oh my gosh.
but yeah. Yeah. That's
There's a
that's a
lot of
good
good
one. Okay,
drama.
I'll take that. Yeah. I'll
Okay,
take that.
absolutely. All right, if you could whisper one piece of advice into someone's ear right before they go on camera, what would it be?
Oh, just be yourself. Be
Mm,
yourself. That's exactly what I would say. Be yourself because
mm.
there is, people say there's no one else like you in the world and no one else can be you. And it's just so true. The authenticity, there's no use in trying to hide it. I've met a lot of
Yeah.
young journalists who tried it. So, yeah, I would just say be yourself.
I love that so much. And I love the moments that are kind of unexpected, like you're watching the news and something like cracks up the weatherman or something. I was just
Yeah.
watching something came up on my Instagram. I don't know why this video resurfaced for me, but it was a weatherman talking and he had like a big map behind him. It was a local news program and he was talking about the storm front coming in and just the shape that it made was, like, very phallic, but in a way that was, like, not excited to see you kind of way. It's just, like, this big drooping down,
Oh my
form,
gosh.
and the anchor man said, "Oh, it looks like it's a really flaccid weather front moving in or something," made some kind of and they all just cracked up, and the weatherman was like, "I see it now," and they were just dying that he couldn't get back on track, but instead of editing that out, they kept it, and then it just went viral and like
Yeah.
that whole team became famous. And it was
Well,
so cool
yeah.
because it like could have just been edited out like, "Oh guys, we can't show this," but they're being themselves and they just like leaned into that authentic moment of like hilarity.
Well, I would actually submit to you that I bet they couldn't edit that. If it was live local
Oh, yeah.
television,
Oh, yeah.
forget about it.
Okay. Yeah,
You can't
right.
edit that.
Oh, yeah. So whatever
Yeah,
happens, happens.
it happens. And then you either, make the most of it and that's what happens in those moments. You're like, at this point, we can't stop the show. We're live. It's going out live. We have to either laugh or cry. Like you have two
Right.
choices.
Yeah.
So I bet you the
Love
producers
it.
and the directors in the back were like, oh my gosh, what is happening? What is happening? What is happening? And the
Yeah.
anchors just couldn't get it together. Yeah,
They
you just
couldn't get
sometimes
it
you just
together.
can't. And those are the best times. I have a local weather guy. I haven't talked to him in ages, but he's my favorite. He and I would get to laughing so hard and we just couldn't stop. We couldn't stop. And so then I would be trying to say like a serious story and, cracking in the middle of it.
Yes. Oh, man.
Not professional, but so much fun.
It's so much fun, the awkward moments where you'd laugh. My mom and I always did that together. We went to a serious movie. Like, we were almost kicked out of Terms of Endearment. We were like, well, Deborah Winger was dying, saying goodbye to her children. We got the giggles and we just couldn't stop. And people were like, shh, like, and we were just like dying. I mean, it was so, yeah. Yeah. Anyway.
Is there
All right.
anything
Yeah.
better though?
It's
There's nothing
not.
better.
That's I still remember. I mean, my mom passed it's a year ago now, and actually in her obituary that I wrote, which is very just story filled, I actually wrote about that. Like I'm gonna miss like laughing with her, the uncontrollable laughter during the worst possible, most awkward moments, someone's funeral, terms of endearment. Like there are a couple other times. Like I will never forget that. Oh my goodness. Okay. If you could go back and tell 8-year-old Jodie one thing, what would it be?
Oh man. You know, there's no secret. I kind of grew up in a household where like my parents were divorced and so I had a couple of really challenging years, trying to get used to that, a new life and yeah. So, if I could go back and talk to that little girl, I think I would just say, you feel like the world is ending today, but someday all of your dreams are going to come true, you know? I was a dreamer. I would sneak out into, like, we had some woods kind of behind our apartment complex. It was called like the Trussell area. And I would sneak back there and I would just play with sticks on the ground and I would daydream and I would pray and I would like look up and all these things. And I would always like dream of this life and I would envision a life that I loved, that I designed. And I didn't know how it would ever happen, but I believed with all of my being that it could, that it was possible. And I think sometimes, there's kiddos that don't have vision like that or drive. They don't end up having drive to get out of their circumstances, but it's incredibly possible. And so I think that's what I would tell her.
Oh, we are such like birds of a feather. I got chills like listening to you. I used to do this a similar thing. I was the only child and such a dreamer, big imagination. And I used to do the same thing. Like I'd love being under tree. There was like a back kind of woods area and I would collect sticks and I would build like little worlds, just little homes and imagine one day, I would be in this little
Yes.
cabin. And as I'm saying that, I'm realizing I live in this like a beautiful little cabin like in all this forest in Hawaii and it's it's
Yeah.
kind of like what I imagined as a little girl. So you're right, you've just got to have that vision and it finds you eventually. Your dreams can come true.
Hmm.
So thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's your reoccurring nightmare if you have them?
Oh, good heavens. Awake or asleep? My reoccurring nightmare when I'm awake is that these teenagers are going to, play video games for the rest of their lives. That's my reoccurring awake nightmare. I'm constantly trying to promote outdoor activities, um, relationship building activities. Anyway, that's my awake nightmare. At night, like seriously, I don't even dream, but, um,
You do,
I'm
you just
sure.
don't remember. I think
Yeah,
everyone
I'm
does.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but,
Yeah,
like,
you don't.
you always when you're watching these shows, Laura, like, you too, I mean, you're like, "If that ever happens to my daughter, I will cut someone," you know? I mean, we're just as moms, we're so protective of our kids. So, that's probably why I have such a hard time watching stuff because I am so the news has already scared me. I'm already afraid of sex trafficking. So, don't come for my kid, like, because I will cut you. You know what I mean? So I think that's probably for us mamas, it's more like we're traumatized
I went through a
during the
really
day.
short phase after I had my son of I couldn't watch horror and I couldn't watch
Yeah,
anything where anything bad happened to children, definitely. I mean, I
right.
recovered from that. I got over it. But you're right. Like there's so much real life horror. I think maybe that's why I like it though, in a way. Like it gives me a sense of control over my fear. Like growing
Mhm.
up feeling so scared all the time in my background. I think when I could like choose to be in, watch this, choose to go see Jaws or, whatever the movie was that was playing at the time and choose fear, then I felt like I had more
Mhm.
control over it maybe. Um,
That's
yeah.
a sign of real growth.
It is? Oh, I thought it was
Yeah.
like, I need more therapy or something.
No.
Okay.
No, I
Oh,
think it is.
good.
I think
Yeah,
that's
I
a
think
sign of
it's
growth.
like
I'm still
coping
afraid.
mechanism or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
I'm still
yeah.
I'm still deathly afraid. But no, I think that is a sign of growth, right? Because
Okay,
when you do
I'm
grow up,
gonna
yeah,
own that.
you grow up in a situation where you feel like insecure in ways. Yeah, no, I'm afraid. I don't want any of the pretend. Why would I put the pretend in my life? I only want good. Where are
Yeah.
the housewives? Show me their
Yeah.
mansions. Like,
Yeah. Awesome. That sounds healthier, really. All
I
right.
mean,
I think we're on number 11. I kind of lost count a
okay.
little bit, but okay, number 11. Who's the most famous person you've interviewed?
You know, I haven't taken time to stop and think about that. But I was home in upstate New York recently, and one of my uncles said, "Hey, didn't you interview Joy Behar one time?" And I was like, "Oh, I didn't I?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So in the
awesome.
old
I love Joy.
days, back in the old days,
Mm.
you could get on these satellites. So they would, instead of Zoom, we didn't have Zoom. So they would say, would you like to book a satellite tour? So Joy has written a book, or Joy has a cookbook, and she would like to talk to people all over the country and local newsrooms all over the country about her new cookbook. And so I would schedule those basically daily. So daily, I was able to, interview somebody new and exciting who was out there doing what they wanted to do and wanted publicity. And it was very easy back in the day for celebrities and entrepreneurs and, gizmo, producers and authors to grab onto the media and do that. Now it's different. Now they're much more careful. We all try to be careful at one point, but careful about people coming on and trying to sell things. So, back in the day, I was interviewing a lot of people like that. Um, yeah, like former football players who wrote a cookbook, or John Madden, his cookbook, or just all kinds of people who were trying to get some publicity. Yeah,
Oh, so fun. Ah, the good old days. Alright.
yeah.
Well, speaking of that, so number 12, what's your favorite interview question?
I've thought about this a little bit because in thinking about the business that I'm in now, which a lot of times is interviewing authors, the most important question is, what made you write this? What was the turning point that caused you to feel like you have something that you want to put out in the world? Like, what was the turning point? Because every day I think in my own life, I'm like, well, I could talk about raising an autistic child. I could talk about why I would like red lipstick. I could talk about this. I could talk about this. I could talk about this. But when you sit down with an author who's actually written a book, the question is, why this topic? What was it in your life that turned you to say, I have to put this into the world and I have to put it out now? And usually it's a very, very specific topic, you know, like yours, like just in your case, public speaking. I mean, there's so much more to you, right? We're talking about your childhood and your life and what you've been through. And you could have written or talked about anything, but your topic is public speaking. And so the question for you is, why that topic as opposed to all the other topics that make up your life?
Yeah, that is such a meaningful, powerful question for I think anyone, that's listening that is ready to do this new thing, whether it's write this book or create something new or a new career, like why and then why now? Like why is it? Because I do think there always is a deeper reason it's coming to you. And then suddenly, sometimes I find there's a sense of urgency all of a sudden. And yeah, getting in touch with that is so important because sometimes there's a shelf life to the enthusiasm you have and the drive that you have to create that thing, on that topic that's very specific to you. So, yeah, that's an awesome question, and I bet you get incredible answers on that.
Well, it's something I ask myself almost daily, to be honest with you, because I'm one of those, I'm a real thinker. And so I'm really thinking through the next step always. And I'm like, do I want to go this direction? Do I want to go that direction? And for a long time, I thought, one thing that I want to focus on is mental health. I feel like we have such an issue in this country. I've been through it myself. There are hundreds of thousands of people struggling every day with their mental health. And why? And I have so many questions, right? Let's try to answer all these questions and unpack it and see what's happening in my community. And to be honest, Laura, what I realized was as soon as I started to get healthy, that desire to make a difference in that genre faded away a little bit. And so it has me asking, well, why? Jodie, just is it out of sight, out of mind? Now you're better. And so now you're on to the next thing. So I ask myself questions all the time like that. And I think that we all should. We all should. If public speaking wasn't going to sit with you for a long time, for a while, if it was just going to be something in passing, then it would have passed. And that's the thing. It's like, I'm not trying to be rude, mental health, but if it's not you, I'm gonna give it time, but if it's not you that that I need to put out into the world and my story in that realm, then what is it? I know I'm here for a purpose. I know that there's something that I need to give back. And if that isn't it, as important of a topic as that is, then what is it? You know?
Mm.
So,
Do you find the answers come to you, like, when you're asking? Does it or it takes time? Or, like, how do you get the answers when
you
you're
know,
asking those questions?
that's such a great question. Of course, I'm gonna sit here like everyone else, and I'm just gonna mull over it. And I have been
Yeah.
mulling over things for months and months and months. And just the other day, I got out a gift of a notebook that someone had given me, and I hadn't journaled in a long time, and I wrote about 4 pages, and I just argued with myself the whole time.
Mm.
I
Wow.
was just like, okay, this is what I think about this, and this is what I think about this, and this is what I think about this, and I don't know about this. And it's like you have to get what's
Mm.
going on in your head, out, in your heart, out on paper sometimes. And that's what
Mhm.
I did. And it's is, it really made me think and focus and flesh out like, okay, if it's not going to be mental health, if that's not going to be what I'm going to create a podcast about, then what is it going to be? Is it going to be something locally? Is it local?
Mm.
Is that what I need to do? Or is it something bigger? And why don't I want to go bigger? Is it my confidence? Do I have enough confidence? Like I ask
Mm.
myself all of these questions, and journaling really is helpful. It really is.
Yeah.
But it's taken me, Laura, so long to get out of my own head and get it on paper to be able to flesh it
Mm.
out. So yeah, I think it's a process. I think some people, they know, they go after it, they kill it right away. And I think there's others of us who really have to have more clear direction, you know?
Yeah, but journaling can't go wrong. There is something about that process that generates an answer one way or another. You're right. Just getting like actually handwriting it out, arguing with
Mhm.
yourself, seeing whatever it is, being able to read it and write it. There's a process there. So,
Well,
wow.
maybe
Okay,
that's the
fine.
topic. Wait,
Yeah.
maybe it's
Ooh.
journaling. Maybe that's what the podcast should be about.
Oh.
I have no idea.
Yeah, that could be so cool, and people come on and kinda share their journals or read like, that could be really cool. I don't know if you remember
Girl,
I'm going, like,
I have no
way off.
idea.
Yeah, I'm just kind of following my my stream of consciousness right now before we get to the last question, but, um, I don't know if you remember, there was this, like, viral show that was out for a while, it was called Mortified. And basically
No.
what it was kind of like have you heard of The Moth where people get on and compete in storytelling? It's an NPR show, The Moth. You probably
No,
love
but
it.
I think I should be on that.
Yeah, you should be, I should be. Yeah, it's so fun. And they have celebrities sometimes that get on it that are just
Oh
tell
my
these great
gosh.
stories. Like Matthew McConaughey is like a famous one that told a story.
Yes.
But it's like 5 minutes. There's a theme, no notes, and you tell a true story. But so it's kind of like that vein, like live on a stage. But what it was people would get up and they'd read from their journals in high school. And it was
Oh,
hilarious. So it's just called Mortified. And people get
yes.
up and wasn't I don't know if it was quite a competition, but just the sharing of what you were writing in like the '80s in high school or whatever, it was really hilarious. So it just reminds me though the power of those journals and how it just creates this time capsule sometimes too of these different phases in our life. It's really cool.
Mhm.
Final question, number 13. You're killing it. This is like I've so many insights through your answers. Thank you so much. Final question is, do you trust your head or your heart?
That's a really good question.
And you mentioned it a little just now, like your
Yeah,
head and your heart. And
it's
there's,
tough
yeah, it
because
is.
I think when we're young, I think that when we're young, even before kiddos and stuff, we are definitely going on our heart. We're not
Mm,
using our head. We're just going on our
yeah.
heart. We're living in love, and love is carrying us, and we are just living in our hearts. And I think it's super important. But I've heard so many people say that there's a reason why we have a brain too. I think it was my dad that said that. You've been given a brain, use it. Because I think he knew for a long time that I really led with my heart. I think both are really important. I think you need to know when to let one override the other as well. And you can be in a situation, a scenario where, for instance, you're covering a house fire and you know that you want to get the best shots possible. And we learned in journalism school, like you keep the camera rolling. Okay, you get the shots. If people are running out of the fire and they need a blanket, you get the shot. You're not the firefighter, so you're not supposed to put yourself in the story and make yourself part of the story. Do not toss that person a blanket. Keep the camera rolling, right? But in that same sense, I always believe so wholeheartedly in civic journalism. Like, really, I mean, what is a priority in that scenario? So I've always led with my heart and my brain has followed. And I think that I've really tried to teach that to my kiddos too. But sometimes it depends, you know? There's been times where I've been just probably just like you, like super emotional, leading with the heart. I'm a hot mess. It's taken me into places that are really harmful and hurtful. And then I'm like, okay, I'm done with you. I need to start using my
Mm,
head. My
yeah.
head. Do,
Be
like
practical.
they don't,
Yeah.
yeah, they don't deserve the power that you hold in your heart. You need to make a decision with your
Mm.
head. Use your brain. Get out of
Oh,
that
that's a
situation or that
really
scenario.
fascinating distinction. Yeah, sometimes someone doesn't deserve your heart. It just
Mm-mm.
needs to be like a boundary with like, let's just move, like, let's
Boundary.
get through this with practical thinking or something.
Right?
That's,
Because,
yeah.
yeah, you can be super empathetic and compassionate and lovely and caring, and people will take advantage of that. And so I
Mm,
think, that was something I had to learn the hard way, very
yeah.
hard way. And
I
so
think
now
I'm
I'm
still
very
learning
much
that.
more, yeah. Yeah, use your head,
Yeah.
Laura.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think when you come from
Use
like
your head.
you're being a people pleaser too, and you just kind of want, like I consider myself kind of recovering people pleaser, but you, I used to always lead with my heart in a way, like trying to kind of just get people to, I don't want the conflict that my
Mhm.
head, like like might evoke, right? And so I'm trying to just diffuse everything and make everyone love me and everything's going to be beautiful and you're going to take back that, judgment or whatever, but it doesn't work that way. So,
Not always.
and some people, yeah, they can't, they're just not going to be able to receive it. Congratulations. You got through those questions and I learned so much and it was awesome. And now, like, we want to know, like, tell us, dish some with us on a story that comes to mind for you where things just went wrong. Whatever it was, and what you learned from it, and yeah, all the juicy details on that.
Oh my gosh. I have so many.
I
I have
bet.
so many funnies. I have so many things that have gone on throughout the years.
What's your
You know,
favorite to share?
my favorite one to share, which is the funniest, is when I first went to my first small town news anchor job. I was sitting next to what had become a very good friend, my co-anchor. And we were reading this script. Now, this is back in the days when, I'm from upstate New York. Here I am in the middle of Northeast Missouri, very rural.
Mm.
And there's a story about meth, right? And I'm like, meth. What is this meth? What is meth? Okay.
Oh,
I'm
no.
learning about meth, right? Meth labs and meth heads and all this. Well, there was a word that showed up on the screen and it was spelled out phonetically. And so it was like spelled, okay? And it was a word in a meth story. And so in a meth story, the word is going to be about the medicine that they
Mm.
use, that they purchase illegally to make the meth. And this was in a time when they decided to start locking up um, this medicine in the back of the pharmacies. You couldn't get
Yeah.
it. You had to ask for it, or you had to have a note from your doctor, right? And so the word showed up and I read it exactly how it said to in the prompter, which was pseudoephedrine.
Oh,
Of course, it is
no.
pseudoephedrine, right?
Oh,
The word
no.
is pseudoephedrine, and I know what I said was physophytoephedrine,
Oh, no.
and because it was spelled out that way, it looked
Oh, I would have done the same
phytoephedrine.
thing. Yeah.
But they were trying
Why
to
would
have
they
me
spell it
say
out?
they were trying to say pseudoephedrine, and I saw physo, not pseudo, physo, phytoephedrine. And so my co-anchor will never, and probably the whole staff will never let me live that down. And here it is, like, 20 years later. But yeah, phytophytoephedrine.
I love it.
That was probably one of the funniest things. I mean, we did not stop laughing at commercial. Phytophytoephedrine. What was that?
Oh, it's so
Um,
good.
so yeah, that was a really big one. The other one that happened, these are just bloopers, but I was on set in a morning show. And I was getting ready. It was during commercial, and the phone rang. These are the days when there was a phone underneath the set, and so I picked up the phone and I was talking. Yeah, okay, it's my director, and she's like, so we're going to change the stories, and you're going to do this one first, and then this one. This tape isn't ready. We're going to do this one. We got to switch. Everything's going to be switched in the prompter. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, uh huh. And then it came back from commercial, and I'm on the phone,
Oh,
and I'm like,
wow.
welcome back. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Melissa, why would you take me? She pushed the button to take me while she's talking to me on the phone. So funny things like that. I mean, just, there's so many things that happen that on live television that you just cannot control. I mean, that lady I was telling you a couple weeks ago, her water broke on TV.
Gosh.
Yeah,
It's
things happen.
good TV though. I guess doing something.
It's such good
happens.
TV. So
Um, what's your advice for listeners before we wrap up on, overcoming any nerves? Like if you're going to be interviewed and to be yourself, like your advice, like how does someone show up for that and be like a really great guest?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a really great question. Well, I was going to share with you a little bit today about how, when I first started, my fear was so great about what was going to come out of my mouth. It was like I couldn't, as a young person, like I knew what I wanted to say, but it just would never come out of my mouth the way I wanted it to. I was never confident. I was always like very nervous. And you might not have been able to tell that in my live shots, but I was always super, super nervous. So some of the best advice I ever got was to put down 3 points. So bullet points, 1, 2, and 3. And so once I got that under my belt and I would go into the field and I had them. Now, these were the days where we didn't have a prompter in the field where you could use your phone, or didn't even really have a phone where you could have notes on it. It was a notepad, and I would just big bullet points. And I would just knock off those big bullet points. And it was a beginning, a middle, and an end. And so that really helped me. And I think that that's really helpful for guests too. The other thing, so go in with your 3 bullet points, but the other thing is when you sit down with someone and you allow them into your life enough to interview them or to be interviewed by them, you know, it's so important not to be afraid of that person. That person interviewing you is no different than you. They're someone's daughter, they're someone's mother, they're someone's sister. They have been through it too. If you've lost, say you're being interviewed by, a journalist, and you've lost someone and that's your story that you're telling. Don't think that that journalist on the other side of the microphone hasn't also lost someone. So I feel like when I go into an interview and I'm talking with someone, I find that if I'm authentic with them and I get real with them, then they are 300 times more authentic with me. There's a trust built there. And so if you sit down with someone and you don't feel the vibe, you don't need to share. You don't have to tell them your story. But know that for the majority of people who are going to interview you, they really are interested in knowing. They really do want to know what it is that you have to impart to the world. What is your story, and how did you come to this story? And so I think it's just super important. I also think it's really important to realize that your personality and your voice and your message is is great to tell.
Mm.
It's your message is so necessary. There's a reason why you're sitting before this person and they're interviewing you. Like, step into your confidence, step into what that is, that message, your personality, your voice, because you're sitting there for a reason, you know?
Yeah, that's such powerful, potent advice. And I think it's good for anything like even when you're talking about, basically don't let yourself be intimidated too by whoever it is you're sharing with. Like it goes for an audience too. Sometimes, people let themselves feel intimidated by either the size of the audience or who's specifically in the audience, but they're all just real human beings that
Mhm.
also like want you to succeed and also just have shared like some shared experiences, right? Probably that's why they're
Mhm.
there for your topic. And yeah, whoever it is, we're all about goes back to the very first question, right? What's the meaning of life? It's those connections, right? And it doesn't matter really who it is at the heart, we're all just energy connecting, right? And you've got to make the most of that by being as open and authentic as you can. So, Jody, thank you so much for being here. All the nuggets you've shared, so, so good. Where can people work with you, find you? By the way, like I've worked with Jody, having her interview me to promote my new book. It was so much fun. First of all, you're so fun to work with. You are so good at getting out what needs to come out by your brilliance and asking the right questions, putting me at ease. Full disclosure, I did feel like a little like I wasn't intimidated, but a little bit like I just wanted it to be good, and I want to like
You're
I
so
want to
good
be
at
able
this.
to. Well, thank you, but you really helped with that. You helped like have me be my best, self feel comfortable about
Yes.
that. So if there's listeners out there it is amazing to have someone like do an interview, like kind of even just a mock interview to promote what you do. It's such a brilliant concept of what you do and how you serve. So yeah, where can we find you and work with you and all the things? Follow you.
The best way to get a hold of me, of course, is email. It's just Lynn O'Brien. J as in Jody, Lynn, Lynn, O'Brien, Obrien at gmail.com. Right now I'm still trying to find my footing as far as being able to promote that service. Right now I'm a freelancer. So if you're ever on Upwork, I'm on Upwork. I'm also on all of the socials. So you can feel free to reach out that way. But gosh, I would love to help people in that way. I mean, like you said, there's people who have these incredible messages that they need to get out into the world. And sometimes you need somebody to interview you to put your story in perspective. A lot of times I tell people like, are you newsworthy? Yes. Ask yourself, do you have the 10 news values? Is the story relevant? Is it timely? Does it have good proximity to who needs it, the audience that needs it? There's values that you can look at and say, okay, I have something here. And then sometimes you need somebody to interview you to get that concept out there into the world. And those are great because you can use them on YouTube or social. You can edit the heck out of them. You can use them in a podcast. The interviews can be made into videos. I mean, there's so many things that you can do with a good, strong interview. And I think too, yeah, getting to sit down with someone like you, Laura, and just make you feel comfortable and make you feel like I'm listening and I care and I want to hear your spiel.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's always great.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, you're just such a bright light, helping others shine as well as you do. So that is a wrap, my friends, of another episode of the Public Speaking Horror Show. And just remember that the scariest thing is not sharing your story. And we'll see you next time. Thank you again, Jody.
Thank you, Laura.